All right, Vice Chair Gillespie, members of the board, Superintendent Taylor, we are pleased tonight to present to you from the instructional department our accountability and achievement results. These are for 22-23 or 2022-23. Our presentation goals will be update our school board and community regarding SCPS achievement and accountability results and opportunities for continuous growth. Again, we want to congratulate our award winners, Riverview Elementary and Chancellor High School. And to begin with, we want to present our demographic data, and you can see there have been some small changes over the years. And the most current data, of course, is highlighted there for 23-24. We do have a little bit of a change, both in our white students and Hispanic. We are growing in our number of Hispanic students, and we are reducing a little bit in the number of white students in our schools. Here again is that information depicted in a graph. And here's a little bit more of a breakdown. It explains our special ed population, gifted ed, English learners, and ECD. I think you'll see the increase in the number of English learners as well as our economic students there, 52%, over 49% a year ago. Special ed population has also grown by a percentage point, as our gifted ed has grown by 3%. All right, now I'm going to introduce Ms. Susan Thrift. She is our data guru here at Spotsylvania County Public Schools. Does a great job of compiling all this information for our principals and also for our leadership team.
Good evening. Tonight I just want to highlight showcase the SOL results from last spring. So the graph that you'd seen was the demographics of the students that this data represents. I left in there data from 2018-19 as a reference point. The state really does like to see where the students were pre-COVID and where they are now. And you'll see that we are increasing in some of our content areas back up to pre-pandemic rates. The two graphs on the left are raw data. So this is data that's in the school report cards, school quality profiles, and it's the students who took the test. It doesn't take out anything. The blue there represents elementary schools in reading. There is no blue for writing because elementary schools do not have that SOL test anymore. This is the last year for the grade 8 writing test, so we will only have writing information for high school next year. On the right is the accreditation rates. Accreditation rates are called English rates because in the middle and high school they combine the reading and writing together. The two charts here show the difference between the raw test scores and the accreditation rate test scores for math. The difference here, again, raw numbers are students who took the test, all students. Accreditation rates are a combination of students who took and passed the SOL test, but if a student did not pass the SOL test but made sufficient growth, then the growth score is calculated into these accreditation rates. We also have something called recovery, where if a student did not pass the SOL test previously but did pass it in the spring, we get a recovery score, a bonus score. So the accreditation rates are combining the pass rates, the growth, and the recovery scores. It does also exclude students who are too new to the country, out of country students, as well as transfer students out of the division after a certain point in time. The science rates between the raw and the accreditation are very close because there is no recovery, there is no growth scores for science. Accreditation rates for science do adjust for those students who are new to the country or transferred into the division after a certain period of time.
I am fortunate enough to talk a little bit about our highlights for elementary, middle, and high. And before I go into some of those, I want to share, I know the sentiments here and for these folks behind me. There is not one person in our school division that isn't working really hard for kids. Everybody from our custodians to our teachers to the support personnel to our administrators. It's all in for kids. We're working hard at it every day. And while we have things that we're going to work on this year, moving forward, given some of these results, we have a lot to be very proud of. In elementary school, all 17 schools are at level 1 for English, and that is very exciting. 6 of 8 English achievement reporting categories have exceeded pre-pandemic levels, and the other 2 had just a marginal drop of 1 to 2 percentage points. All math reporting categories are within 1 to 4% of pre-pandemic levels. Students with disabilities are at the pre-pandemic achievement rate, and overall English scores are up 3% over pre-pandemic levels. So lots of things coming right back up where we saw them prior to the COVID shutdown. Middle school highlights: all schools are level 1 for English learners in both reading and math. Students with disabilities exceeded pre-pandemic levels for English by 2%. 6 of 7 middle schools are level 1 in math. And overall science performance remained the same with all the new standards that are in place, with 3 schools achieving higher scores. Chronic absentee rates remained about the same for our middle schools. High schools highlights: all 5 schools are level 1 for math, English, and graduation rate. All schools improved in English over the previous year. Students with disabilities English scores rose 16% over pre-pandemic levels, and the county average scores for every reporting category is 81% or higher for English. And students with disabilities, their math scores improved 13 percentage points over pre-pandemic levels, which is all very positive news. And just in terms of the high school's on-time graduation and dropout rates, we are, although the scores are over the last few years fairly flat, they are improving in graduation rate by about 0.5 percentage, or not even quite a half, but we're moving in the right direction. And then dropout rates are declining. So I know our high school principals and administrators work very, very hard, especially on those two areas, because we want to help kids, achieve and get across that stage.
So Ms. Palego was talking about the levels, students being in level 1, and this is just a recap. I've presented this last year to you, but just a recap of what our state accreditation model looks like. So level 1 would be schools meeting the rates. It is a 75% achievement rate for English and 70% achievement rate for math and science. So that's what it means to be in a level 1. Level 2 means that the schools are at 66% in those achievement rates for all 3 content areas, and level 3 would be below 50%. So we put a summary of the number of schools at the different levels for the last 3 accreditation years. Just want to take a look at that. The academic achievement summary means the overall achievement rates for English, math, and science. It looks like the title of that second chart is being covered up a little bit. That's the achievement gap summary. So the achievement gap summary takes all of those subgroups and looks at all of them. If they're all at a level 1, the overall achievement gap is level 1. And then there are other criteria that would put the achievement gaps at levels 2 or 3. Our student engagement and outcome summary would be the other indicators, which are chronic absenteeism for all 3 elementary, middle, and high school levels. And for high school levels, we have the addition of the graduation completion index, dropout rates, CCCRI.
Now I'd like to introduce our awesome Director of Teaching and Learning, Ms. Maria Ramadan.
Thank you. I'll be sharing the supports that we're putting in place for our schools. The instruction department is committed to meeting the needs of our students, educators, administrators, and our families. As you can see by this slide, an intentional focus was placed on monitoring student performance, adjusting based on performance data, and securing resources for our schools. Resources, as you can see on this slide, include instructional coaches, funding SOL remediation, and increased opportunities for our students to participate in work-based learning. Next one. As we've moved into this year, we have taken an all-in, collaborative approach to meeting the needs of our school community. I'm going to focus on a few highlights from this slide. As you can see, we are focusing in on Virginia All In, which will highlight our high-intensity tutoring. You will be receiving and hearing more about high-intensity tutoring within the next coming weeks. Here in Spotsylvania, we will be using the playbook that was outlined by the Virginia Department of Education. However, we will design a program that is unique to our students here and meets the needs that our students here have. And again, you will be hearing more about our high-intensity program within the next couple of weeks. As you are aware, our 4E initiative is taking off on November 1st, and I know that a presentation will follow this presentation, so more information will be coming. I wanted to focus in a little bit on our family engagement. We've held 4 regional L family engagement nights, and we welcomed over 200 of our families, bringing our families into our schools and making sure that we have community resources to help our parents help their students. We also have had an attendance task force that has been operating, and I know that there have already been some improvements in our daily attendance, so that is another level of support. This year, we've implemented our regional model to provide intentional support from our central office staff, where we have grouped our schools into regions and aligned our instructional coaches and central office staff attaching to certain schools in certain regions and ensuring that we are able to meet the unique needs of our individual schools. We'll also be launching our instructional rounds within the next couple of weeks. Instructional rounds brings our educators, our administrators, our central office staff together to visit our classrooms, discuss problems of practice, and engage in professional networks to focus on our next level work. Allison Langridge in the Office of Student Support Services has been very intentional with providing support through PLCs at our individual schools, meeting those specific needs. We revised our teaching and learning framework. We now have a teaching and learning framework site that includes research-based best practices. We are adding videos of our own educators in action to support our own educators. As you heard last month, we have developed a professional learning site. Now, you heard from Jamie Malinak last month, and she discussed the professional growth opportunities that are available to all of our educators in the division. We also wanted to highlight, and I know you've heard of this as well, the SHINE program that is providing supports to our new teachers, and also some technology enhancements on our data dashboard, thanks to Pete Zakari and his team, so that we're able to pull specific data that helps us to progress monitor throughout the school year and adjust as needed. As you can see from this presentation tonight, we've made several gains. We acknowledge that there are challenges, and we are committed to being all in for our students and our families as we prepare them for their future.